This video is about the Bulletin, which is a really important tool for you to use in order to know what classes you need and other requirements for graduation. To access the Bulletin, go to bulletin.mines.edu in a web browser. It'll take you to kind of an introduction page, and then you want to click on undergraduate information here on the left. That will take you to this page, which at some point you just want to read through so you know that you're familiar with what's written here as well as the policies here on the right. Now, some important things the Bulletin contains are information about your classes. So if you click on undergraduate programs and departments, that takes you to this page. On the right-hand side is a list of most of the departments and the majors and some of the minors that we offer. So if you are going to major in something like petroleum, you would click on that and then you would read through this information about the program. Up here at the top, they have different choices. So they'll tell you about the major, the minor, their faculty, and their courses. For the major, if you click on it, again, it gives you information. And then if you scroll down, it gives you a suggested schedule. Now, something to note is that in the freshman year, it just lists Common Core. As most of you probably already know, you're going to take a lot of the same classes for your core classes, and that's kind of, the same across the board. If you need to know what's in the Common Core, that's also in the Bulletin, and it's a link up near the top. So I'm just going to show you that page. This is the Common Core page in the Bulletin. If you scroll down, it has a lot of information, especially what science classes that you might want to take, as also a suggested schedule here for your freshman year. So if you have questions about that, you can definitely talk with your advisor. So going back to this petroleum example, we're going to scroll down. So they suggest certain classes starting in your sophomore year. Some things that you want to pay attention to are the prerequisites for classes, and you can do this also for classes in the core. So when you click on the class in the Bulletin, it gives you a description of the class. It also tells you generally when it's offered. That's what these symbols here are. A 1 means it's generally offered in the fall, a 2 means it's generally offered in the spring, and an S means it's generally offered in the summer. Now, that's not a guarantee that it'll always be offered then, but generally they will. It also tells you the prerequisites of the class. So this is statics, and the prerequisites are that you have to have Physics 1 completed, or you also need Math 112 completed, or to be taking it at the same time. So some things just to pay attention to, you want to become familiar with the requirements of the major that you're thinking about, because sometimes they only offer classes once a year. So here's an example for petroleum. Reservoir rock properties is generally only offered in the spring. There are some prerequisites and co-requisites here. So you want to make sure that as you're moving on through your curriculum that you know which classes are only offered once a year and what prerequisites they have, because you want to stay on track, especially for those classes. Now, many of your other classes in your first 3 or 4 semesters can be flexible. So for example, economics, you may not need to take that in your first 2 semesters. It is a requirement for graduation, but if it fits better in your schedule at a later time, then that's fine as well. Now, these are things you definitely want to talk to your advisor about. So some other things about the Bulletin is that it also lists minors. So if you're thinking about minoring in something, you can find that information in the Bulletin. So let's say you wanted to minor in, let's pick one, math. Up here at the top, they have the minor listed. So you would go to the minor page and you would read through these requirements. You want to make sure you really pay attention to these little details. So it might say you have a choice between these 2 classes, or you have a choice between these classes. So you want to make sure that you just become familiar with those requirements. The other thing the Bulletin has are the humanities and social science requirements. So everyone needs to take some of these classes. So this page, the Liberal Arts and International Studies page, will tell you what those requirements are. If you click here on HSS requirements, This is really important that you read through and that you're familiar with these requirements. You will be put in some of these classes automatically, and then other ones you get to choose from. So you have this long list of classes to choose your upper division electives from. So again, just make sure that you click on them and you read through and see if there are any prereqs or co-reqs with these classes. So some other things about the bulletin is that the one that is displayed here, this has to do with the most current year bulletin. So every year they update the bulletin. You are assigned a bulletin year based on when you started at Mines. So if you're in your sophomore year or later, you want to make sure you find the bulletin that is connected to your year. So to do that, you go to the registrar's office website. They have this bulletins link right here. So you would click on it, and then you would find the bulletin for your year. If you have any questions about the requirements for your program or the bulletin, make sure that you ask your advisor. Otherwise, have a good time exploring the bulletin.